an all-new episode of Hanging with the Dreamer every Monday at 12 noon. Available wherever you stream. Hey everybody, it's your old boy the Dreamer. Happy Monday everybody. Welcome to Hanging with the Dreamer featuring my esteemed guest, Mitch Lafon.
Hey, good day.
And before I bring Mitch out from the green room, I just want to remind everybody, if you'd like to support my content, then please hit my studio support link. And that will help my production out big time. And that will help me be able to keep bringing the legendary interviews that I am able to bring right now. Thank you, everybody, and hit subscribe, smash that bell notification. The Dreamer's life is on a roll. Now, without further ado, I would like to bring out and introduce to everybody, if you don't know him already, Rock Talk's very own Mitch Lafon. Mitch, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today, Mitch.
Yeah, welcome. I'm hanging with the Dreamer, so what could be better on a Monday?
Thank you. That is very kind of you. So let's jump right into it, Mitch.
Yeah, let's do this.
What is the inspiration behind the creation of Rock Talk?
Well, I used to write for print magazines, and of course, print magazines have gone, the way of the dinosaur. They disappeared, and I was creating content for online places, except a lot of the online in the early 2000s, they wouldn't pay you. They would take the content, they would share your name and stuff, but they wouldn't pay you. And some of it was, the fault of their own, where they just were taking advantage of you. And others, they just didn't have cash, because people certainly in the early 2000s didn't know how to monetize a website. So they just didn't have cash for it. So eventually I just said, you know what, this new technology is coming out, this podcast technology. We'll give it a shot. Plus it'll save me the hassle of transcribing all these interviews, so I can do more. So that was basically it. It was like, well, as my dad always said, if you want it done right, do it yourself. And so I was doing it for these websites and just getting no remuneration, just no cash, nothing. So I followed Dad's advice and I said, all right, let me do it myself then. And I did. And for many years, the sites would come to the show and they would grab quotes, and they still do. And at least I got to monetize the content, which is good. Plus I get to talk to rock stars, which is good. We like that.
Who would you say has been your most memorable interview?
Boy, there are so many memorable interviews for so many different reasons. Of course, there are all the big rock stars from the members of Aerosmith and Metallica and all that, but some of the memorable ones, of course, would be that first one I did with Gene Simmons in 1980 when I was 11 years old, of course. Then Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up. I mean, he's a cultural phenomenon, whether you take his music seriously or whether you think it's just some crazy meme or what. I don't care. Personally, I like his talent. I think he's great. And it's a cultural phenomenon. So I had a chance to interview him. And then, of course, some of the offbeat 80s rockers or 80s artists that I had a chance to follow or look at or stare at, including Bananarama and Boy George. Those ones stand out to me or are memorable to me because they're not what I normally do. I've done a Judas Priest, not hundreds of times, but a dozen of times. I've done, Queensryche a dozen of times. I've done members of Kiss. I've done Def Leppard and all. So those ones are great because those are the bands I love. and of course, I interviewed Richie Sambora of Bon Jovi once, which was very memorable. But the memorable ones are the ones that are outside the beaten path. So Bananarama, Rick Ashley, and Boy George were definitely, and Sheila E. I got to interview Sheila E. Those were definitely memorable because they were just different to what I normally do.
Music is magic.
It really is.
And I gotta tell you, music is like the universal safe harbor. You know, it's it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, for most of the world, music unites us. Music is used to celebrate life. It's used to announce birthdays. It's used to announce, national anthems, and of course, people when they pass away are often sent off to their favorite song or to taps or some kind of musical moment. So music really follows you from cradle to grave, and it's there to bring you up when you're feeling down. It's there to uh, uh, convey an emotion. When you fall in love, it strengthens that and it conveys that. When you break up, it helps you get over that. So no, music fills every aspect of your world, and yeah, I don't know what I would do without it, quite frankly. I spend hours listening to music every day.
Oh, likewise. Likewise, I always have like Celtic bagpipe music on for my morning meditation, and uh, I'm always listening to music throughout the production day.
Mm.
Music is some of the things that I found, for the whole dream world that I'm living in now. I have found I have gotten like this invisible inspiration from music that I could be listening to anything from Led Zeppelin, No Quarter, uh, anything from that era. The song remains the same era.
Right.
Uh, Anything from early Rush, Witch Hunt to uh, Clockwork Angels. That's a vast catalog of music. Or I could be listening to Culture Club, or I could be listening to it. It comes from everywhere.
Or Pink, as your T-shirt says.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
She's great, by the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've met her.
Like, what's a big takeaway that you have learned, Mitch, from doing your interviews and from developing your production to where it is today? What's one of the things that you could share that you've learned from your creative process over the years?
It's an interesting question. Well, the big takeaway, obviously, is that the person you're interviewing is a person. A lot of people get stressed out and get overwhelmed by the fact that, oh, I'm talking to a rock star, and of course they're unique and special, and they have a talent that I certainly don't have, but ultimately, they are just like you. They're just another person, and so the takeaway is to keep that in focus, and so not to get stressed out or overwhelmed by, oh my God, I'm talking to so and so today. The other takeaway I would have is you have to sort of be constantly evolving in what you do. Don't always do the same interview. Don't always approach it the same way. Keep trying, keep pushing, try new things, but also, criticize yourself. Look back, listen, One thing that I've been criticized about is that I cut guests off, and I try not to cut guests off. It's not something I want to do, but also when you're having a conversation, sometimes a conversation requires an intervention to bring the conversation into a different direction, or to further the conversation, and not just let the speaker keep talking until they peter out and have nothing to say. I don't, a lot of folks will say, well, you got to let the rock star have his full thought. And of course you do. But sometimes when there's no stopping point, they just keep talking, like I'm doing right now, until they stop talking. And sometimes you do have to intervene and throw something at them, or pick up on something they said and ask further, so that's an important thing. But yeah, the takeaway is keep evolving, keep moving, keep vigilant, and just don't get stressed out or overwhelmed.
So when you put your productions together,
right? Well, I actually don't do it. My co-host does it all. I used to do it, but my technical skills were limited. So the one and only Jeremy White, who is Montreal's top media personality, I like saying that. He is the one now who puts it all together, because that's his skill. That's where he's really strong. My technical skills, just trying to get on the Zoom today was a challenge, as you know.
It's really awesome. It's really awesome, and I'm glad that I stumbled upon the Mitch Lafon, Jeremy White podcast. It's good stuff.
Well, thank you. And I'll say this for the record: I taught him everything he knows. Take it or leave it. Maybe you don't want to believe that. Yeah, no, it's a great combination. It's interesting because he comes from the pop world in terms of his day job. I come from the rock world, and he's in the pop world, but a rock fan, and I'm a rock fan who likes pop. So that crossover was perfect. We both get to explore these different avenues, and I brought a lot of the rock stars to the show that he wanted to interview, from the Def Leppards to the Kisses to the Scorpions to all that stuff. And he's bringing some of the pop stars to us, which we're going to do a bit more of in the next little bit, which is also why we got away from calling it Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon and went to the Mitch Lafon and Jeremy White show, because we don't want to necessarily get boxed into just one genre. Music is so encompassing and so everywhere. Why can't I talk to a flautist if I want to? Why can't I talk to Pavarotti? Well, of course he's passed away, but you know what I mean. Why can't I talk to an opera? So I hopefully fans will continue to watch and follow and be intrigued by our explorations. Now, of course, it's not going to be a radical departure. It'll be one interview every so often, once every 6 weeks or something, Not that there's actually a plan in terms of how often. It'll just sort of be as the opportunity arises, kind of thing. But yeah, it's interesting, and I'm glad it's working out. We've got some big ones coming up in May. I'm telling you, we've got some interviews planned tonight and this Friday that are. I'm not going to tell you who the guests are yet, because we want to keep that under wraps until we make the whole big splash. But man, we've got some great ones. Holy mackerel! That interview we're going to do Friday obviously will air next Monday, and it's a biggie. It's a real biggie, So I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to hear it.
We do that actually by keeping our cell phones. I keep mine propped up on the computer here, and we'll text each other during interviews and say, ask about this, ask about that. If I've asked like 2 questions in a row, I'll text them and say, ask about whatever, the guitars or whatever. Or if he thinks that I haven't asked enough questions, he'll text me and say, you ask about this, or you should bring up that. So we communicate during the interviews. to keep it moving and to sort of keep it equal. Again, there's no hard written rule that we say you have to ask 5 questions and I have to. I mean, there's nothing like that. But as we're doing the show and as we're doing the interviews, we text each other and say, okay, you should ask this, you should ask that, or remember to ask this, or remember to ask that, or when you ask this, don't forget to finish. So we're constantly in communication. We're constantly talking to each other, which is why if you watch the video, sometimes you see me looking down because I'm sending him a message. He's more discreet about sending me messages. I don't know how he does it. He magical fingers and he can keep staring at the camera. I can't do that. I'm too old for that. I have to look at the phone. But that's one of the things is we're aware to keep it moving, and we definitely learned over the last couple of years how to stay out of each other's path. If I'm going down the road with some good questions, he'll sit back, or if he's going down the whole, gear talk stuff, I know nothing about gear. So I know that's time for me to sit back and just go, because me jumping in and saying, well, your guitar tone, there's no point for me to do that. So that's what we've learned is, what our strengths and weaknesses are and when to sit back. I'm more about the personal relationship stuff and the psychology of the whole music, and he's more about the gear stuff. So depending on who the guest is, if you look at our interviews with Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, technical guys, guitars, instruments, that's more Jeremy's forte. And then you look at, for example, Fee Waybill of the Tubes that we interviewed the other day. There was more, era specific stuff and I don't want to say psychology, but there was more psychology to it. So I took over. That's what we've learned is figure out what the guests are, what they're going, what they're saying, and who has the strength to take that interview further. Yeah.
So, have you ever, one of the last questions I have for you this morning, Mitch, and again, for those that are just tuning in right now, you are listening to your old buddy, the Dreamer, and Hanging with the Dreamer, featuring Mr. Mitch Lafon. So, what I wanted to ask you, Mitch, what is your big picture? What is your big hope? Where would you like to see the Mitch Lafon and Jeremy White show be in 2 years?
That's a difficult question to answer because in 2 years from now, I'd like to be retired from the entire world, just sit at home and walk the dogs, quite frankly. But listen, if the podcast continues to grow and continues to have success, then obviously, hopefully, a media organization will reach out and offer a show or ask to use the audio or incorporate us in their shows. We are in talks with a couple of places now. But of course, everything has to make sense. It has to make sense on the energy that you need to put into it. It has to make sense on the money. There's and I'm trying to avoid talking about specific media content, but a lot of the providers will say, well, we'll give you a platform and we'll offer you like $25 a show. And it's just like, I can monetize my show independently at a much higher rate than $25 a show. So but the exposure is like, I'm not 20. I don't work for exposure anymore, So we'll see. I mean, in 2 years, who knows? I mean, if it wasn't for Jeremy, I would have quit this a couple of years ago. Dealing with, for me, the technical side of editing shows was just frustrating because I'm just not good at it. And as I got older, as I'm getting older, I started looking more about, maybe I'll just go walk the dogs rather than interview somebody. And I know that sounds a little facetious, but Jeremy came in and said, "You're not retiring. You got great content. You do great questions. Keep going." So the fact that he's come in and has taken over the technical has certainly lightened my load and made it more appealing. So we'll see. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, you look at what's going on in Europe right now. Will there even be a planet in 2 years from now? I mean, who knows at this point? Anyway, but there you go. So we'll see. So we'll see what's going to happen between now and 2 years.
Do you have any questions for me, Mitch?
Well, what is the well, I don't want to say what's the purpose of your show, but what's your vision for your show, I should say.
And thank you for asking me that.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I have been given a second chance in life.
Meaning what? If I can ask you,
Sure,
meaning
sure.
health-wise, or did you pop out of jail? Like, what are we talking here?
No.
No, health-wise.
Health-wise.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you have a second chance, because having had heart issues myself, I know that once you get past that or you go through it, you see life a lot differently.
Well, I lost my father when I was 13.
My
So
condolences.
as a result, I had to pick my road in life. And it wasn't the greatest choices.
Right.
But it all led to the road that I've walked, the road that I've lived, the things that I've experienced have all led me to be the person I am now. And I promise, I made a deal with my creator that if I could have one more shot being involved with music again, all I wanted was an opportunity to meet some like-minded people, to somehow share my passion for creation, my passion for music with the world, and have my voice heard as well as others.
Right.
And that's how all this started. Positive inspiration through my interviews.
Right.
And that's part of the deal that I made with my creator. That's part of the deal that I made, that if I have the opportunity to be able to meet people that would enjoy talking to me and would like to know who the dreamer is. In only 2 years, I've done over 200 interviews. I have been blessed. I have been fortunate enough to be featured in the High Voltage Video Magazine on Facebook 10 months in a row. I am honored to have met some of the most incredible, talented, intelligent artists known to man. You know, all I can do, Mitch, is just keep believing in my vision. Because when I leave this world, Mitch, I want to be like the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex and leave deep footprints. I have to keep my end of the deal. It's it's imperative that I keep my end of the deal. And I was told something very, very important one time, that when God gives you a gift, He's not going to keep it a secret. My message to my viewers, my message to the fan base that I'm very slowly starting to build, is don't give up. Don't be afraid. If you're doing what you need to be doing, if you're doing the right thing in your life, you're going to enjoy the journey. And then don't give up. Don't give up. Don't stop. And I'm blessed and I'm thankful beyond all recognition. That's a good question, Mitch. Thank you for asking that.
Well, you're welcome. And this has been a great chat. Let's consider doing another one soon. And there you go.
Thank you very much. You've been watching Hanging with the Dreamer, an all new episode of Hanging with the Dreamer every Monday at 12 noon. Available wherever you stream.